All right, what's happening, Internet fam? So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time editing this video or making it perfect or spending any time like that. I did have a hearing today with in the family court here in Hawaii. Now, it wasn't a full hearing. It was a continuation of a continuation of a continuation that's been going on for almost 2 years now. So, but I was granted today a full hearing in January. And so this is exciting news. It's taken me 4 years to get here. It's taken me 2 years here in Hawaii to get a full hearing, and 4 years to get here to be in a state where the judge isn't a personal friend of the defendant. And I'm excited about the possibility of maybe being able to prove something to somebody. There's a couple of things that I'm really looking for right now, and I'm willing to put some funding into this at this point. If you know an expert on parental alienation, I would be willing to hire them to testify as a witness. Somebody who is an expert in the field of children being abused in the manner of parental alienation. At this point, I've read every study there is, but my word's not going to go very far because I'm involved in the case. My children are exhibiting all of the symptoms of extreme parental alienation now at the ages that they're at. So, yeah, anybody who knows anybody who will come and testify about parental alienation in particular, I'm very interested in subpoenaing a witness who is an expert in parental alienation. Now, it might be possible too that we don't have to actually have them here in Hawaii. We may be able to have them video conference in or something like that. But definitely that is something that I'm looking for. So if you know somebody or know somebody who knows somebody or anything like that who's willing to be called as an expert in the field of parental alienation in particular, I'm very interested in that. I don't really know what else there is to prove at this hearing at this point. I'm going to go over a timeline of history. I'm going to go over all of the evidence that I presented at all the previous hearings. I believe there's ample evidence at this point that no matter what I do, the defendant will violate the court orders. That has been the case now for 4 years. So I think it should be pretty easy to prove that following court orders is not something the defendant is even capable of doing. It's not just that they're motivated not to follow the court orders. They just are literally incapable of following the court orders, which plays along with the narrative that I believe at this point, which is that she is an obsessed alienator. It's called an obsessed alienator is the technical psychological term for what she is. And it fits the other data too, knowing now about the personality disorders that she's displayed the entire time I've known her, more than a decade now. So yeah, I don't know if this is actually, I don't know if today's hearing was a win per se. Once again, it's kind of just another continuance onto another hearing, but we did get a full hearing on the schedule, so I'm very excited about that. And again, I've complied with every order that the court has made. The court says go get a psych eval, I go get a psych eval. The court says take anger management, I take anger management. The court says go get another psych eval, I go get another psych eval. And keep in mind again that I have no history of crime, no history of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, no history of violence, no history of any kind of malfeasance towards anybody. And I'm still out here fighting 4 years later. I have so many people following my case at this point, other dads in the same situation, a few moms too who are in the situation. All of my kids' extended family on my side have been following the case for a long time. If you're wondering why my voice sounds a little funny, it does sound a little funny. I kind of blew it out the other night singing, and it hasn't really recovered yet. Being a professional singer for almost 20 years, there's a lot that can go on with your voice if you don't have the setup exactly right. So hopefully it'll be better in the next couple of days. It's already a little better than it was yesterday or the day before, so I'm optimistic that it's going to be uh, all the way on the mend here in a couple of days. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I wouldn't call anything that's gone on so far a win per se. My children have suffered egregiously at the hands of the defendant. And, they have no relationship with their entire paternal family. It's not just me, it's grandparents, uncles, aunt, cousins, everybody. So, yeah, it's hard to look at any of this as any kind of win for anybody. And to me, it's pretty clear what the strategy of the defendant has been this entire time, which is to give me absolutely no rights and to make sure that they can move at the drop of the hat anywhere they need to, anywhere in the country at their discretion, which they've already done twice now. She moved them across state lines without my consent initially from Oregon to California, and then moved them across state lines again without my consent, this time with the blessing of the court, although it was a corrupt judge who was a personal friend of her father's. So there's that. From California to Hawaii. I don't know where they're planning on moving next, but my intention is to get some kind of custody and to block any further movement. That's it. My kids have been dragged around this country from Navy base to Navy base with, going to the lowest quality schools and eating the lowest quality food now for 4 years. There's really no call for this anymore. So, and I've been fighting it the whole time, but this is where I'm at. It's mid-November 2020, and we have a full hearing scheduled for mid-January 2021. So I'm excited about what that could look like. Again, if you know anybody who's an expert in parental alienation in particular, that has definitely been going on. My children exhibit all the symptoms at this point. And they're in that part of the parental alienation that's the most extreme form of abuse, when they are being incentivized to continue their own alienation with their own, as if it were their own idea to continue it. And the studies show that that does the maximum harm to children. So, I'm just posting an update because I know there's a lot of people following my case. I'm curious, any kind of feedback, any thoughts anybody has, anything you think I should present at the hearing in January, I'd be very interested in hearing that. I'm probably going to present the entire package of what I presented at the last hearing in January, most of the package that I presented at the hearing in August of 2018 in San Diego, and probably the majority of the packet that I also submitted as evidence in the initial divorce hearing in Oregon as well. So that is my intent. If you guys can think of anything that would aid in the case of Everett and Grace and how I can help them best, I'm all ears. And again, I'm really just doing this to stop child abuse. My children have been abused now for almost 4 years. Saying you can't see your dad. Dad rhymes with bad. Your dad's the worst person in the world. All your dad cares about is money. These are all things I've heard my children tell me that they've heard from somebody on that side of the family. And that's a horrendous form of abuse, to put kids through that, to make them think that their dad doesn't care about them, to make them think that their dad only cares about money, to make them think that their dad's just such a foul piece of shit, to the extent that that he would allow them to suffer, and in fact intentionally make them suffer, when nothing could be farther from the truth. There's a reason I'm in Hawaii. There's a reason I gave up all of my personal belongings, literally everything that I owned, and moved from state to state to state, and gave up good paying jobs, gave up a career, gave up relationships, including romantic relationships, family relationships, business relationships. I've given up almost everything you could possibly give up to stay in this fight, just to stop my kids from being abused. Parental alienation is a horrendous form of child abuse. And you can tell by the symptoms that my kids are exhibiting at this point. They're so scared and cautious, and they suffer from anxiety. Every time I see them or talk to them, they're suffering from extreme anxiety. And it's no wonder, they think their dad's this psychopath monster. And of course, they know that genetically they're half me. So they think, hey, maybe I'm a psychopath monster too. Which is one of the main issues with parental alienation. It's you're not allowing the children to develop a natural self-worth, a natural ego, a natural idea of who they themselves are. So that's really at the crux of the issue, why it's such an extreme form of torture. Yeah, if you've got any ideas, any thoughts, what I should be presenting in January, I mean, I've got enough evidence to fill a sailor's trunk or a walk-in closet, really. But I don't know which of the evidence I should focus on. I don't know what the key findings should really be. Most of these hearings are always talking about the best interest of the child, but the reality is the best interest of the child would be to have full unmitigated access to both parents. And that's just not possible in this case. At this point, the defendant has caused so much harm to everybody involved that there's no possible way that I could imagine a scenario wherein the kids just are able to have an open and free relationship with both parents at once. I just don't see that happening. And at this point, after all this abuse, I'm not even sure I would advocate for that. I mean, she's already been abusing them for 4 years. Maybe having a break from that abuse for a while would be a good thing. A lot of the studies about parental alienation show that specifically, that one of the best things to do is actually remove the abusing parent from the equation entirely, at least for a little while, and then just kind of work them back in slowly. That's what the studies I read have shown. I've been advocating for a 50-50 no contact shared custody schedule from the very beginning. I still want that in the long run. I still think that should be the long-term goal for this whole scenario. I pick the kids up from school on Friday. I have them Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then she picks them up from school the following Friday, and I don't see or hear from them at all until the following Friday. At this point, it's just too clear that that the kind of selfish, abusive, narcissistic tendencies of the defendant make it impossible to find any kind of common ground to work together in the best interest of the children. Which, if you go through the evidence that I've presented in court, online, and everywhere else, you'll see that I was willing to work together towards the best interest of the children from day one. But the fact is, I just don't think that that's realistic at this point. There's been too much narcissistic abuse by the defendant at this point, and I mean, to the point where it's made even like the supervised visits almost impossible. They'll just obstruct, and like we're trying to schedule the supervised visits, as if I need supervised visits. Again, I've never done anything to anybody, and I've been working with kids, for most of my life. I've been teaching and working with kids, one-on-one classrooms, running whole schools, and yet the defendant is claiming that I need to be supervised when I'm with my own children. I mean, presenting no evidence at all other than memes from Facebook, which I didn't create. So I don't know. I don't know how realistic it is to assume that there could be a dramatic change after the hearing in January. But at this point, I'm all in. I've been putting in the work for 4 years, and I'm going to continue putting in the work. Win, lose, or draw at the hearing in January, I'm still going to be fighting for what's best for my kids every day of my life until they turn 18 or until I die, whichever occurs first. And I'm not planning on dying. I ate a lot of vegetables today. I usually get a lot of exercise, and could do a little better on my sleep schedule maybe when it comes to personal health. I never quite get enough sleep. I'm just too interested in things, and I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I'm always putting in work. And one of the things I've been working on primarily for the last 4 years is this case. I've been putting in so much work on this case for so many years now. It's if it was a paid position, I'd be a millionaire. That's for sure. Again, any thoughts, feedback, ideas that anybody has, I'm interested. I'm curious. I've reached out to one of the psychologists on the island that does have some things posted online about alienation. I haven't heard back from them yet. But again, I don't think they have to be on island, and I don't know if they have to fly to the island either for this hearing. Although, if it's beneficial to fly to this island for the hearing, then I would be happy to accommodate that and figure out a way to get them a round trip ticket and somewhere to stay and everything else in order to bring them in and have them as a witness for this hearing. So yeah, if you've got any ideas, internet fam, any thoughts, any questions, I'd love to hear it. I'm going to be posting this everywhere. The only thing I'm going to be doing for the next 2 weeks besides work is working on this, putting together, just a really huge stack of evidence of everything that's occurred the last 4 years. It's not like I don't have an ocean of evidence at this point of the abuse that my children have suffered, and me too. But yeah, I'm not really in this for me. I'm in this for the kids. So yeah, that's it, internet fam. That's my update. I don't really have much else to say. One of the things that we've been prevaricating about and arguing about via email with the opposing counsel is how to set up family therapy so that I can be in a room with a therapist with my kids. And the therapist that the defendant was trying to hire, she seems pretty cool. We've had one session already. She seems pretty cool. But of course, the defendant didn't want to pay, didn't want to use insurance, was obstructing that process by all means possible. And the judge today said, no, you may not obstruct that process. In fact, quite the opposite. If she's willing to take insurance for anybody, then we have to accept it, let it in, and let it happen. So that could potentially be a big win for the kids and I. But we'll see. We'll see. I just don't know. At this point, so much damage has been done that probably most of it won't be able to be undone ever. But stopping the damage now and mitigating the effects of the damage immediately is still my priority, and that's going to be my priority until Grace turns 18 in 2031. So I'm looking at 11 more years of this, and I'm fighting. I'm staying healthy. I'm eating lots of vegetables and drinking lots of water, and cutting out sweets, cutting out alcohol, cutting out extracurricular spending activities. I'm literally cutting out anything that doesn't keep me healthy, doesn't keep me in the game to help my children overcome the abuse that they've suffered already for 4 years, to the best of my ability. So if you've got any thoughts or opinions or anything, please hit me back. Let me know. I'm very curious. I'm always interested in what other people have to say, other perspectives. That's Internet fam. Hope you're doing well, and happy Thanksgiving.